Plans to redevelop a Taipei park have sparked concerns about the homeless people staying there. World-famous zoologist Jane Goodall visits Taiwan, praising the country's conservation efforts. US President Donald Trump has deployed the National Guard to LA after days of immigration protests. Plus, Australian researchers find a marine fungus that could help reduce plastic waste. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Laurel Stewart. Welfare groups are worried plans to redevelop a Taipei park could leave the dozens of homeless people there destitute. As John Van Trieste reports, while homeless people of Bangka Park may not have a roof over their heads, they at least have a place to make a living.
These social workers, academics, and activists gathered at the legislature are alarmed at plans to totally revamp Taipei's Bangka Park. The park is a hotspot for people with nowhere else to go, homeless people from across Taiwan. Over the years, it's become a place where those in hard times know they can get some help, access to social workers, a bit of food, and even enough odd jobs to pay for their next meal. But starting this month, the park will be fenced off for up to 2 years, and dozens of people stand to lose what little they have. Xiu Xiu knows all about life in the park. She spent 8 years there after a scam group threatened her out of her life savings. Though without a roof over her head, she says in Bangka Park, she and many others found ways to survive. And hers is far from the only story of harsh resilience from the park. National Taiwan University sociologist Huang Kexian spent a year in the park doing research on the people there, and found all sorts of stories of people coming from long distances to get the kind of help available at the park.
某个晚上其实看到一个来自于彰化的40岁的一个女性那她因为离婚的关系，然后回到她的这个娘家，但是娘家的人又想要把她赶出去，她最后走投无路，她就用她最后仅存的钱搭一班火车上来，然后来到蒙甲公园因为她从新闻上知道说蒙甲公园是一个很有爱心的地方。
Still, even those who find a way to support their basic needs find it tough to get on their feet.
大多数在街上人，他们80%以上都有工作，可是工作并没有办法帮助他们从此离开街头，赚到钱离开街头，而是最多活在一个就是勉强可以活下去，但是还是只能在街上流浪的一个状态。这种多重困境，很多时候包含的是就是有身心疾病，然后或者年老。
The groups gathered here say that closing the park down won't solve the homelessness problem, only spread it elsewhere, to other already crowded spots like Taipei Main Station. They want the city to make a flexible plan to help homeless people find housing near them. They want a national law on homelessness, so helping people is no longer just the burden of local officials that may have stretched budgets. And they say the city needs a plan for the displacement the park's closure will create. The city says it's ready to give homeless people from the park overnight shelter and to help those who've come to Taipei seek shelter back home.
蒙甲公园大概有78%的街友都是外县市的，那我们在今年4月份的时候已经召开了街友的跨局处、跨县市的一个合作的会议，那会尽量的协助街友他们能够返乡。
But activists argue this too is just pushing the problem from one place to another rather than solving it, and shows the need for a law on homeless people covering the whole nation. Here in Bangka Park itself, there are few signs that things are about to change. But groups that work with homeless people worry that once the change does come, the disruption will be big. And dozens of people who found a place for themselves here will be uprooted, dispersed, and left to fend for themselves. Hank Xu and John Van Trieste in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Renting a home in Taiwan is getting more expensive, with some in the capital Taipei now spending over half their income on single-room apartments. Government statistics show rent prices across Taiwan hit a record high in February, rising 2.57% from the previous year. Experts say inflation, high housing prices, and more people turning to rentals are driving the increase. Central Taiwan was the most affected, with rents rising 3.19% compared to the year before. Taiwan's rent growth outpaces much of Europe, where early 2025 increases were under 1%. but it remains far lower than in Australia, where rents surged 8.1% in 2023 and rose another 4.8% in 2024. In Los Angeles, protests against heightened immigration policies are intensifying. US President Donald Trump has sent in the National Guard to crack down on the demonstrations as protesters continue to clash with local and federal agents. Chelsea Wu has the story.
Let them go! Let them go!
Tensions flare in Los Angeles as hundreds of protesters move onto a major highway and thousands of others block surrounding streets. The protests targeting a growing immigration crackdown under U.S. President Donald Trump have seen demonstrators clash with law enforcement for 3 straight days.
I think it's a little overkill right now. A lot of the people are just peacefully protesting. As you can tell, we're not being violent. We're just trying to be loud so that we can be heard. But there's been no violence, and we've just been shot at red pellets, a bunch of over-exaggerations that are not necessary right now.
The protests erupted after federal immigration officers carried out searches at multiple locations throughout the city, part of Trump administration efforts to find and deport undocumented people in the U.S. The unrest prompting Trump to deploy 2,000 National Guard troops to Los Angeles, relying on a rarely used law that put the state-based military force directly under the president's command. It's the first time since the 1960s that a sitting president has sent out the Guard over a governor's head.
Well, we're going to have troops everywhere. We're not going to let this happen to our country. We're not going to let our country be torn apart like it was under Biden at this auto pen.
California's Governor Gavin Newsom is calling Trump's decision purposefully inflammatory, urging the president to withdraw the troops. Other local officials also condemning the move.
We don't need any of that in our city right now. Our city's trying to heal. Our city is trying to rebuild. Our city does not need to be torn apart with a provocative measure from the federal government.
The police have declared all of downtown Los Angeles an unlawful assembly area, using tear gas and rubber bullets to break up the protests, but with demonstrators remaining defiant and with state and federal officials divided over the unrest. The city is bracing for more uncertainty and potentially more unrest. Joseph Wu and Chelsea Wu for TaiwanPlus.
Japan says it spotted China's Liaoning aircraft carrier east of the island of Iwo Jima for the first time, the furthest the carrier has ever gone into the Western Pacific. Tokyo says the Liaoning was seen in the last week of May, passing through Japan's exclusive economic zone. Fighter jets and helicopters were seen conducting drills on the carrier. The White House is raising concerns over China's plans to build a massive new embassy in London, warning it could pose a national security risk. The proposed new embassy would be near London's financial district and would be over 20 times the size of the existing one. Both US and UK officials are worried about its proximity to sensitive communication cables. The project also drew protests back in February, with critics fearing it could be used to monitor dissidents from China and Hong Kong. Threats to British communications are a concern for the US as the two countries share intelligence. Internationally acclaimed environmentalist Jane Goodall has made a visit to Taiwan, speaking out in support of environmental protection and wildlife conservation. Our reporter Sandy Chi went to her only public lecture here and has this report.
Please welcome Dr. Jane Goodall.
World-renowned chimpanzee expert Jane Goodall making her first public appearance in Taipei in 7 years. In a talk titled Inspiring Hope Through Action, she delivered a powerful message that even in the face of global crises, from wars in Sudan and Gaza to the conflict in Ukraine, there are still reasons to be hopeful.
We're living through pretty dark times right now. Although it sounds strange, I think one of the reasons that I can be hopeful even now is because I grew up in World War II. Some of these terrible wars, although they seem never ending, they will end, and good will prevail over evil.
Goodall also talked about her experiences and conservation efforts, which attendees say was inspirational to hear.
我觉得他最让我们感动的是他的坚持，因为他已经91岁了，从他年轻到现在， 他还是一直不放弃。
Some here using the opportunity as a lesson for their children.
Well, we don't get that many opportunities to see Dr. Goodall, and so this was a really unique chance to let the kids be exposed to all the work that she's done and her decades of research. And personally, we are a family that loves animals and conservation, and so this was a wonderful, wonderful opportunity.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting about learning about the chimpanzees and how she discovered so many similarities between humans and chimpanzees.
While in Taiwan, Goodall also went to a coral conservation center in Geelong on the northeast coast, where she praised manufacturing giant Delta Electronics for their efforts to restore coral reefs around the country. A project that has so far preserved more than 40 species of coral native to Taiwan, with the aim of restoring 10,000 coral fragments by the summer.
If you give nature a chance, she will come back. So restoring the coral is really a fantastic idea. The ocean is so important. It's very worrying that it's warming as the globe heats. And what that's going to mean in the future, I don't think we know. But I heard that one species can live in water that's warmer than others. And so that's a hopeful sign.
Goodall also shared her thoughts about Taiwan's overall conservation efforts.
I think Taiwan's doing very well, and several of the restoration programs that exist today are already in one of the books I wrote. And the 3 projects were: one, the inland salmon, saving it from extinction; one, this very polluted river, working out that by putting it through different plants, it would make the water clean to go out into the ocean. And the third one was the jacana bird, which now has a new wetland because the railroad is going through the old wetland.
This marks Goodall's 18th visit to Taiwan in 29 years, a reflection of her long-standing connection to the country. Back in 1998, she helped establish the Jane Goodall Institution in Taipei, one of several around the world, to help support wildlife research, education, and conservation efforts. Despite only a quick trip to Taiwan, Goodall's visit here shows her continued dedication to the foundation, helping the country on a journey toward global ecological engagement and environmental protection. Patrick Chan, Hong and Tang Chia in Taipei for TaiwanPlus. More than 10 million metric tons of plastic waste end up in marine ecosystems each year, but a group of Australian researchers may have found a new weapon in the battle against ocean debris. One solution is a new marine-derived plastic-eating fungus. Isabel Wang reports.
This is no ordinary fungus. Discovered by a team at the University of Sydney in Australia, the organism can break down a type of plastic called polypropylene, also known as PP5. One of the major offenders when it comes to ocean waste.
Typically, plastics are very well known to be degrading over many, many years and even decades. This research has been showing that, in fact, fungi are able to degrade plastics much faster.
PP5 has been a long-running pollution problem. It's used in much of the world's product packaging, but only a very small amount is recycled. The team in Sydney has been working on an organic solution to this issue for years. In 2023, they first came across a terrestrial fungus that can degrade PP5 by up to 27% within a few months. They say this new marine fungus could speed up the process even more.
This image shows the plastic before degradation. It's one base. This image shows the plastic after the degradation process. As you can see here, the plastic starts to broken after a few weeks.
So how does it work? In the lab, polypropylene samples are first pre-treated with heat or UV light to simulate the natural weathering of plastics. Then researchers combine it with this fungus in a liquid solution and leave it to incubate. They say biology-based methods like this are crucial in tackling plastic waste.
Our process connects the treatment steps with the biological steps in a way to optimize the degradation rate. The fungi use these enzymes to latch onto the plastics, but also to degrade them and break down the carbon into lighter compounds like carbon dioxide and water.
Despite promising results, the researchers caution this is not a one-stop solution to the plastic crisis. While the team is hoping to make the process commercially viable in the next few years, Abbas says the primary solution should be to reduce plastic waste from the start and work on building a circular economy. Justin Wu and Isabel Wang for TaiwanPlus.
Coming up after the break, Taiwan hosts its first ever rock and roll running series, blending live music with distance running.
At Connected, we believe in the power of dialogue. Taipei 101 It's not just about the headlines, it's about finding common ground. Join the conversation.
Connected with Divya Gopalan on TaiwanPlus.
I'm Ed Moon in Taiwan's Jinmen Islands, and you're watching TaiwanPlus News, the voice of freedom in Asia.
我自己少遇见一朵花，我可能就不是这个样子。
开始思考什么叫做一个本土性，
大声的唱出来说我是台湾人。
Welcome back, you're watching TaiwanPlus News. The United States and China are starting a new round of trade talks in London aimed at reducing tensions between the world's two biggest economies. US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, and Trade Representative Jameson Greer will meet with their Chinese counterparts, led by Vice Premier He Lifeng. The talks will likely focus on US tariffs and export controls, as well as rare earth mineral exports from China. Just before those talks in London, China gave the green light to export some rare earth minerals, most of which had been held up since April. To explain why these minerals matter so much, Alec MacDonald spoke to Gracelyn Baskaran from the Centre for Strategic and International Studies.
To start off with, could you provide a quick introduction to these heavy rare earth materials?
Rare earth minerals are actually a group of 17 minerals, and they're a bit of a misnomer because they're not actually rare, they're everywhere. They're often found in small quantities and they can be difficult to extract. Now, the restrictions from China this week are actually on heavy rare earths, and there's a reason that we are particularly vulnerable for those. And that is that China holds almost pretty much 100% separation capacity of heavy rare earths. Because when I take rare earths out of the ground, before I can use them, they have to undergo separation and processing. The reality is that for light rare earths, there's some capacity outside of the US with some facilities, small facilities in Malaysia and Estonia. But with heavy rare earths, China was previously processing and separating about 99.5% of heavy rare earths, and there was a small facility in Vietnam. However, that's gone offline for tax reasons. So China now holds this dominance, not a comparative advantage, but an absolute advantage. And this is a really big problem for us because with these rare earth export restrictions means that we can't actually get access to them until China figures out a licensing system.
In the incidents of open conflict, it seems like the U.S. defense industry would not have a resilient supply chain to continue building more tanks, more fighters, more naval vessels as there is attrition in the battlefield. Do they have a backup plan to provide for this supply chain resiliency?
The U.S. Defense Industrial Base is already on the back foot. CSIS put out a report, my colleague Seth Jones, who's the president of our Defense and Security Department last year, where he noted that China is acquiring and manufacturing weapons at a rate of 5 to 6 times what the U.S. is right now. China, he notes, is operating at a wartime posture and the U.S. at a peacetime posture. Now, the U.S. Defense Industrial Base is not at a place where it has the surge capabilities to shore up these capabilities rapidly in the instance of active conflict. Now, you add in the fact that a lot of the strategic materials that I need for conflict, right? Rare earth, antimony, which was banned last year, tungsten, which was banned earlier this year, are things that China is actively stockpiling. And that prevents us from being able to get the materials we need to respond and shore up our capabilities.
So aside from the defense industry, what other industries are we looking at that could be impacted by these export curbs?
A whole range of civilian sectors are at risk. So automotive manufacturing. Automotive executives have already expressed their concern because we're building a relatively less profitable compared to China, electric vehicle sector. And we need rare earths for those permanent magnets in those motors, right? So easy example where supply chain disruption, when you have a limited supply of a material that is both needed for defense and civilian use, defense end uses will generally take priority, especially if there's potential conflict. Then we think about things like medical technology, semiconductors. Semiconductors are crucial for both their dual use, right, for military and civil use. Another example of where restrictions will be consequential. So we do see it to be in a range of strategic technology industries.
That was Grayson Bhaskaran, Director of the Critical Minerals Security Program at CSIS. One person is dead and 2 are injured after a 76-year-old driver ran a red light in southern Taiwan. Police say the woman, surnamed Liu, hit and killed a cyclist, injured 2 scooter drivers and crashed into parked vehicles in Tainan. She was not intoxicated and has been released on bail, suspected of negligent manslaughter. It's the latest in a string of deadly crashes involving older drivers, sparking calls for stricter license renewal rules for seniors. Taiwanese gymnast Tang Chia-hung has won gold in the men's horizontal bar at the Asian Championships in South Korea.
From Chinese Taipei, Tang Chia-hung.
Tang outscored the Japanese runner-up in the event, securing the top spot. Tang performed the routine with the highest degree of difficulty among the 8 finalists. The win marks Tang's first gold medal at the Asian Championships. His next competition is expected to be in September. The debut of Taipei's newest international race had athletes pounding the pavements to the classics this weekend. It may only be rock and roll, but Taiwan's growing running community sure liked it. Jeffrey Chen has more.
Live bands, but this is no music festival. Runners of all ages are here for the Rock and Roll Running Series debut in Taipei. Events like this showing how running is a growing sport in Taiwan.
其实很好，对，其实我觉得有很多这种大大小小的亲子路跑，还有一般我们其实也有很多团体活动在办路跑，对，我觉得还不错，很好，对。等一下我的脚要变成往后面。
And despite the rain, more than 6,000 runners are here, getting an extra booth with live music by local bands, keeping the atmosphere buzzing. With a growing list of events in the city, from road races to trail running, Taiwan is also becoming an attractive destination for runners from around the world.
I fell in love with running in the mountain around Taipei because actually you guys have incredible mountains here, so I really enjoy. And yeah, I think over the years the community is growing.
And running isn't just about fitness. A goal shared by many government initiatives aimed at encouraging healthy living across Taiwan. People here say it's also about the community.
真的很丰盛，真的，我觉得发现现在跑团人越来越多，而且很多专业的教练也都在训练大家，在练习，这对国民的健康很有帮助哎，国力嘛，国民的健康就是我们的国力。
Mary Lee Yu, who goes by Yu, runs one of these groups. She says it's also about embracing new challenges.
It makes you get out of your comfort zone, meet people that you might maybe not meet outside. And also what's really nice about running club is like you all at least have something in common. You enjoy probably being active, running, or just meeting new people.
Despite running events taking a hit due to the pandemic, sporting officials say they're now coming back into stride.
因为受疫情的关系，其实是有比较明显的影响，但2023年下半年开始呢，就已经陆陆续续有恢复。那依据协会这边的统计呢，其实2024年已经恢复了近90%。
From local run clubs to major races, people from all walks of life in Taiwan are lacing up their shoes, not just for fitness, but for the community and connection that running brings. Justin Wu, Scott Huang, and Jeffrey Chen for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. Before we go, we're heading to the Grand Mosque in Mecca for the final day of the annual Hajj pilgrimage. I'm Laurel Stewart. Take care and see you next time.